Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the next episode of Thrive Talk. And today we're chatting about, is Bitcoin going to give us gold?
Apparently, yes. So there's another hard fork on the way.
25th of October, another hard fork, Bitcoin Gold. Are we getting coins again, Gerard?
Yes, but first of all, the two of us are also doing a hard
fork today. Different shirts, different colors, so we're representing the hard fork. You can go with Bitcoin Gold, I'll stay with Bitcoin Core.
Yeah, that's to be debated. But I think that's the very nature of what's happening out there is every individual to decide which portion he's going to support. But just to give the guys a bit of background and insight, there is another hard fork coming up. Normally these things create anxiety, especially for people that doesn't follow the technical back
and understand it, yeah.
Yes, so it creates anxiety. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand what's implication. And
we always have a saying in South Africa that when people get together in a town, they start off with one church and end off with 5.
So it's a true democracy.
So it's the same thing.
Yes.
Bitcoin is no different.
Yeah, they're also branching out into different denominations. Yeah, there are different perspectives on this. I think the first perspective that people must understand is it's yet again a demonstration of the democratic nature of the whole movement.
Yeah.
So to the extent that there's people cannot find consensus, everybody's welcome to branch off, create his little coin on his side, and to the extent that he can attract a following, to the extent that he can do his own price discovery, to that extent his coin will succeed. So in essence, it's the creation of yet another altcoin.
Yes.
But other than where you get the likes of Ethereum or some of those others that based...
It's built on the base of the blockchain within Bitcoin guidelines.
Yes, yeah, because the other altcoins, they start afresh.
Yes.
With a new concept. It's a new project. They've got new objectives. And your ICOs, which are new coin offerings as well, also starting afresh. In this instance, it is the existing...
And a lot of times those altcoins that start from scratch have a total different application.
Yes, that's why they've got the unique solution for a unique problem, and they've got the unique following, and within that they do their own price discovery.
But these guys want to keep the basics of Bitcoin without having major changes, but believing that their changes are better.
That's the thing, yes. So it's the existing Bitcoin blockchain that has grown up to this point with all the transactions history in there, that's now going to split. A hard fork, so you will have two separate forks, both of them referring back to all the previous transactions up and until October 25th. So up until that stage, you're going to still have the original Bitcoin. Then you're going to have a split where Bitcoin Gold is going to branch off, build upon all the historical transactions. That's why the answer to the question is yes. If you have Bitcoin currently, at the point of the split, you will have then both Bitcoin and Bitcoin Gold.
So what's the model of the story?
The model of the story is yes.
Have as many Bitcoin as you can in your wallet.
Yes, we need to understand how to accomplish that. If you are holding your Bitcoin currently in the most popular exchanges,
to
the extent that you don't control your private keys, to that extent you have forfeited basically ownership over that. And then it purely depends on whether or not that exchange will support Bitcoin Gold or not.
Yeah.
If they support Bitcoin Gold, then obviously
you're going to have both. You're going to have more coins.
Yes, because then they will run both instances of the original blockchain. So for blockchain itself, so where your original coins will be accessible, and they're going to duplicate that in order to host the new Bitcoin Gold all the new blocks that's built upon
Yes,
that
Bitcoin
one.
Gold,
Which
yeah.
means in that track, you will also be able to reference your old Bitcoins that you had up and until the 25th. But that will depend on the different exchanges. They will have to make the call whether they support it or not.
Yes.
And for them, it's not so simple as to just decide, yes, we support it, because to the extent that they do support it, to that extent, they must back the value of that. All the coins that they are now supposedly issuing as well. And that's why people need to understand a bit of the dynamics. That's why I don't want to get too involved with the technical side.
Technical side, yeah.
So just from a user perspective, that's what's going to happen. So if you want to benefit from it, you need to make sure that you, first of all, have Bitcoin. Secondly, that you keep those Bitcoin in a wallet where you preferably control the private keys. So it's either a hard wallet or a paper wallet.
Yeah.
Because the moment you go to the exchanges, you basically forfeit that control. You're now subject under the decision that the exchange is going to be making. And like we've seen with Bitcoin Cash as well, when they bounce off, the exchanges were hesitant to support it initially because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know to what extent they expose themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, for a long period of time, for weeks, they were prepared to give people internally both tracks, but they won't accept deposits from Bitcoin Cash from outside. And I think a similar thing might happen to some exchanges where they will refuse to accept Bitcoin Gold deposits from other exchanges coming in, because then they must back it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gerrit, how strong is their following?
In my opinion, significantly less than what we saw with Bitcoin Cash. Because with Bitcoin Cash, you had Roger Ver and those guys that were part of the original Bitcoin movement. So he had a huge following, also highly invested in terms of the mining environment. So when they move off with his following and also with his equipment to his disposal, right from the word go, Bitcoin Cash had about a tenth of the resources available backing it that was part of the original Bitcoin movement. While in this instance, we're looking at the initiative. It's actually a revival of an old Bitcoin improvement proposal that was tabled a couple of years ago that didn't it developed up to a point. Yeah, it never materialized. It is now resurfacing, and again, it demonstrates the democratic nature of this whole movement, which makes me very excited about cryptocurrencies at large, Bitcoin in particular, because what has happened is the issues that was addressed initially, to the extent that people thought they have resolved them, there is still a segment in that community that believes that the issue was never resolved. So now the solution is resurfacing, and there are a couple of issues around it, but I think one of the core issues, and to that extent I must admit, I, being a miner myself, actually support that from the Bitcoin philosophy's perspective. And that is that we want to prevent the situation where you get lobbies which become so powerful that they dictate and dominate the community. And that's typically what we found the last couple of years in Bitcoin space in particular. Because let me put it this way, the philosophy behind Bitcoin is that the ledger must be distributed as widely as possible. The mining must be distributed as widely as possible. And initially, people could do that with simple things like laptops. Later on, you had more powerful equipment that was required. And as the competition grew, they moved into mining with graphics cards, which were more purpose-built for math calculation, which makes it more suitable for mining purposes. So you had this whole movement of Bitcoin miners buying up all the graphics cards to the extent where the gamers can't get access to the top-end graphic cards anymore. We're still in that situation, but it moved beyond that, where you get dedicated equipment called ASIC mining equipment that is so purpose-built. And just to give you a bit of insight without getting too involved with the technical side, if I buy a piece of mining equipment now, number one, it's the cost of a good second-hand car,
Yeah.
which makes it ill-affordable for the public at large.
Yes.
Now, in that sense already, we defeat the whole purpose or the philosophy behind
Yeah.
Bitcoin, because the public cannot get involved with mining anymore.
Yeah.
So there we've moved away from one of our finance principles.
Yes.
The second thing is, one of those rigs have say 3 what they call riser cards. So you sit with a total of about 189 top-end processors in one of those rigs, doing a calculation of 13 trillion hash calculations per second. That's one machine. So it makes the whole Bitcoin movement the biggest conglomerate of computing power ever in the history of mankind. Okay, which is great, providing that we don't move so far away from our founding principles, that we are not what we tend to be anymore. I think that is a tendency that start to take place, where you got mining or companies that manufacture this mining equipment are also involved in the mining, starts to create strong lobbies where they can start to manipulate and dictate.
Yeah.
And from there you also see price hikes on the Bitcoin fees,
Yeah.
which is what we saw recently, which justify the creation of Litecoin.
Yeah.
So there goes another solution branched off. And to the extent that we see more of these trends taking place.
And it's going to happen more and more and more.
Yes. Yeah, it will, because you sit with the two driving forces. On the one end, the philosophy of what Bitcoin is. On the other end, the opportunity to make money out of that. And to the extent where people lobby to make money, where they increase the fees because there's more money involved, they compromise the philosophy. And it is that balancing act. That's why I said it's, on the one end, very exciting to see this happening, because it shows that the community is not satisfied to depart from the original founding statements of what Bitcoin is all about. And to the extent that the majority trend is moving away from that, to that extent you will see other people branching off to call them back to where we originate from, which is a healthy thing. That's the whole idea of a decentralized movement that's not controlled by a company, it's not controlled by a lobby group, it's not controlled by a government or anything. So it's a healthy sign.
Exactly. So what's the implication? Are we getting gold?
Yes. You're getting Bitcoin gold. Yeah, so maybe that's to conclude. From my perspective, I'm excited. It, as I said, it demonstrates that the community is still healthy.
Yes.
The community, there are strong players that are still concerned about the founding principles of Bitcoin. And in that, there's a lot of opportunity as well for people. For you as a normal user, this branch will be so small, I don't think it will be significant. So we will see less of an impact in terms of the price. We will see less of an impact in terms of the opportunities as well than we had with Bitcoin Cash. So from the average Joe out there, from his perspective, it's a no-brainer, it's a non-event.
Yeah.
For the people that want to speculate a bit, and if you want to make use of the opportunity to now get free Bitcoin gold, here's what's going to happen. You need to, first of all, obtain Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So in other words, we're going to create another FOMO as we build up, where people get a hype, fear of missing out. They're going to start buying Bitcoins. So in all probability, we will see a spike in the price.
Yeah.
Then the fork will
6,000, here we come.
Yes. So then we will see see the fork taking place on the 25th of August, but the trading will only...
October, you mean?
October, yes. The trading will only take place 1st of November.
Yes.
From there onwards. In order to prepare for that, you need to move your Bitcoin that you buy in the FOMO, and you need to start buy early before the price goes too high.
Yeah.
That will create the FOMO for us. Then you need to move your Bitcoin into a wallet where you control the private keys. Then the fork will take place, and then you will have access to both.
Yeah.
Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin, as well as Bitcoin Gold. So then you will have both, and it will literally be a 1-to-1 ratio. So in other words, if you've got 5 Bitcoin, you will have 5 Bitcoin Cash as well. But here's the thing that people must then realize is the moment it starts to trade, it is now playing...
Determined by that value.
It's now playing in its own sandpit, and typically what's going to happen there is a lot of people want to make a quick buck out of it, So they're going to flood the market. They're going to dump Bitcoin Gold, which creates a FUD.
Yeah.
And then the price will dilute away. And whether they're going to recover, to what extent they're going to recover,
Nobody
we'll have
knows.
to see. Nobody knows. So
Yeah.
whether your Bitcoin Gold will be worth anything will all be determined by natural market trends afterwards.
Yeah. So it will probably not be worth the same as gold.
No, I doubt. And if you look at what has happened with Bitcoin Cash, it went through a similar phase. The price dropped to about a tenth of what Bitcoin is, and it's still hovering around about there $400 odd versus $4,000 for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash had a massive following, about a tenth of the Bitcoin population, whilst Bitcoin Gold is going to be much smaller than that from what I do anticipate. So I doubt if the price will ever recover anywhere near to $400 even. But yeah, you never know. It's
We'll
all
see.
about the market dynamics. So yeah, I think that's in a nutshell what people must understand. It's yes, it's happening. No, it's going to be a no event. If you want to participate, those are the pointers.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for joining us. We thought that it was going to be a good thing just to mention this because, as Gerard mentioned in the beginning as well, a lot of people panic when they hear things like this, and there's no need to panic. Life is carrying on, Bitcoin is carrying on the way that it is, and you just go out and get as many Bitcoin as you can.
Excellent. Thank you very much.